Hey Canon Collectors, and welcome to our 13th Bad Batch reaction here on the Canon Collector channel. Let's take a look at what they got in store for us this week. Episode number 13, Infested. To save a friend, the Batch plot a mission to sabotage a gangster's operation. This is screaming Jabba to me, is it not? Is it not? So if we take a look at the thumbnail here, I feel like I've seen this guy before. I mean, we've definitely seen his species, and the species is escaping me, but we've seen the species 100 times before. But I feel like we may or may not have seen this particular character before, somewhere either in Rebels or Clone Wars. It seems very, very familiar, but it could be a completely new person. And this may or may not be this friend we're talking about. This could, in fact, because he's looking a little regal there, this could be the gangster that we're referring to. So maybe it's not the Hutts. I'm thinking Jabba the Hutt. Given everything that we've been talking about in all of the past reaction videos, with potential for Boba Fett to be in this show, and with the cameo that we've already had of Moochie and Bib Fortuna. I don't know why that escaped my mind. The fact that we've had Moochie and Bib Fortuna in the show, direct ties to Jabba, this seems very likely that we're going to be getting some Jabba stuff in here, which also means that we could be getting some other bounty hunter stuff. So regardless if this is Boba or not, there are other bounty hunters in play here, definitely with a gangster, a mobster sort of a thing. So this could be a bad situation for the Bad Batch to be in right now, given that there is a lot of heat on Omega's head. So I'm thinking that this is Jabba, that this is going to hint a little more towards some Boba Fett stuff. But we'll see. Right now, the way that the show is, we've reached another one of these points where it's very difficult to tell what they're going to be doing for these next couple episodes. Obviously, the finale episode, episode 16, I think we're definitely going to be seeing some sort of big crosshair sort of moment with the Batch. So I'm chalking that episode up to being kind of a resolution of that conflict, or at least a continuation of that conflict if we're going to be leading into a season 2. There's a few episodes here, though, before we get up there. And I know that Crosshair is after them right now. I mean, that's kind of how we left the last episode off, was that he officially now is on the hunt for the Bad Batch. But we have episode 13, this week's episode 14 and 15, before we get to that finale. So I could see maybe episode 15 being an episode where we deal with some Crosshair stuff, but 14 and 13 seem like they're primed to have Crosshair be a background player, kind of like he was for these last 2 episodes, and then have something else fill its place. Now, all the threads of all of the things that they've set up that we probably need some form of resolution on before this season ends is really just the bounty hunter aspect of everything. I don't feel like we left it off in a great place. You know, it's really that bounty hunter and Kaminoan storyline that's going on that really I don't feel like has reached enough of a resolution, at least for this season. Obviously, I think they're going to leave some stuff open-ended for a season 2 and a season 3, etc., etc. But I think that a little bit more time needs to be spent with that aspect of everything before we move on from this season. So I'm hoping with the inclusion of gangsters in this week's episode that we are going to get some sort of movement on the bounty hunter and Kamino in front of everything. But we'll see. The finale episodes could be more of the bounty hunter side of things, and Crosshair could be these next 2 episodes, but I'm more than likely it's going to be the other way around. Now, if these next 2 episodes will be related like the last 2 episodes were, I'm not sure. These could be one and done episodes right now. These could be either 2 one and done episodes with 15 and 16 really driving us to the end of this season, or we're going to be doing the next 3 episodes as sort of standalone or more or less standalone episodes, and then have a resolution in the 16th episode, the finale. But I'm not exactly sure what they're going to be doing. I know that they have 4 episodes at this point. Really, all we know is that they have 4 episodes at this point, and they kind of need to touch on some more bounty hunter stuff. They need to touch on the Kaminoans again, and they need to touch on Crosshair. Everything else feels pretty good at this point. If you want to give me a nod or a hint or a clue that maybe Omega is force sensitive or that there is more to the story, that's fine. I don't need too much resolution on that just yet. I think that that's definitely stuff down the road we're going to be covering, so I'm not looking for them to do it in this first season. I think that some of the things that need to be more or less wrapped up, or at least framed in a different position for when we go into season 2, are the sort of Crosshair element of everything and the Kaminoan and bounty hunter side of this little saga we got going on. So let's hope for the best. Let's see hopefully where they're going. I know that I said the last 2 episodes were really going to show us where we're headed with this series, but because that those 2 episodes kind of tied that little mini story up in a little bow and put it in a corner, I'm not sure where we're going from here. These could be another 2 episode arcs just like that, or these could be standalone, or these could be 4 episodes that are just all tied in together. Who knows? Given the description that we got right now and the thumbnail that we have, I kind of think this may be a little more standalone-y, but I thought episode 11, Devil's Deal, the first episode with Hera and the Syndulas, was going to be a standalone episode, but that turned out to be a secret 2-parter, so episode 13, Infested, and then episode 14, whatever that name ends up being, could be a little mini arc as well. It could even stretch into episode 15, could even stretch into episode 16, I'm not sure. So let's see if we can uncover any more clues as to how the rest of this season is going to unfold, and hopefully we got some fun little canon nuggets here in episode 13 of The Bad Batch, Infested. The Bad Batch. Infested. All right. I love these just big sweeping opening shots. That's just absolutely gorgeous and beautiful. Do it every episode. Totally cool with it.
Sid better pay us extra for that mission.
That wasn't so bad.
All right, we went on a mission.
Mentioned the drop zone will be swarming with gun docks.
Did they go on another mission, or were they referring to the last one, the Ryloth one? Because I don't think there were any Gundarks on that moon when they did that drop-off. These guys are interesting. What's their deal, man? Ooh, yeah.
Where do you think
We got gangsters up in here.
It's rude to barge into one's office on a
Yo, where's Sid?
This isn't your office.
Sid's out. This parlor and Ord Mantell are now my territory.
Oh, you better not have harmed Sid, my man. Batch's gonna come get you.
We're getting off Ord Mantell. Tech, prep the ship.
But what about Sid?
Oh, so they have to save Sid. Okay. I like this. I like this.
Well, we have to find her and help her.
Nice to see one of you cares. Inside, now. So you boys met Roland. He's a former client and the son of crime boss Issa Durand. Roland's trying to make a name for himself by joining up with the Pikes. If I lose, you lose. Don't forget how good I've been at keeping secrets.
I believe she's threatening us.
You're quick.
When we needed help, we came to Sid, remember?
My sources tell me that a buyer's meeting Roland tonight to acquire a shipment of spice he's storing in my back office.
You won't disrupt his supply chain by stealing the shipment and thereby sabotaging the deal.
Very good, Goggles. When the Pikes come to collect, Roland won't be able to pay, and he'll be their problem.
Okay. Solid plan. Ah, a little underground passage. Very smart, Sid. Very smart. This would be a fun Disney ride, eh?
When we pass through those doors, not a peep out of anyone. We don't want to wake the hive.
The Hive?
The caverns have a slight infestation problem.
Of what?
I'm afraid of a few bugs.
Well, it won't be a problem if everyone keeps their traps shut.
Okay, what do you got behind there, Sid? Be sick if it was just like a bunch of Geonosians. Ooh, this is creepy.
What was that?
Oh, way to go.
What did I say?
It was an accident.
Hey, boy. Why don't you guys just keep moving? Like, keep rolling, guys. You probably could have been out of this little area by now.
Keep moving.
You know these guys are coming back into play at some point in this episode. I'm so curious to see what's down there.
This ladder leads into my back office. Up you go.
Without eyes on the office, how do we know Roland is not inside?
I've got that covered.
Oh, tricky, tricky. Haha. That is a cute little creature.
Ruby? Don't just stand there.
Find her.
At a time, boys. Get the last 2 crates.
The spice.
It's gone.
Womp womp womp. Oh, he knew immediately what was up. Okay. Oh no! Oh, they're gonna wake up all the. They're gonna wake up the hive. Oh my god! I stuttered so ridiculously.
We've got incoming.
I said no plaster pipe.
Tell that to them.
Whoa!
Laser brains woke the hive. We're all
That is
dead.
intense.
Sid, I don't like this.
It's gotta be something cool, right? It's gonna be something cool. Oh! Can't even see what these are.
They're avoiding the light. Use your torches.
These guys are no joke. They're gonna get high on all that spice.
At least we got rid of the spice, right?
That kind of wasn't the plan. What were those, man? We didn't spend like any time looking at them.
Where is our payment? The shipment was stolen. You'll get your money, but I need more time.
You are out of your depth, Durand. Either you correct this grave mistake, or you and your entire family will experience what pain truly feels like.
Ooh, these are some big words, man. The Pikes definitely haven't been this intimidating, so that's pretty good. I always felt like they were kind of more or less the jokes of that whole mobster world.
It has come to my attention that you have stolen our shipment of spice. Return it to us, and we will consider this issue resolved. Until you
Oh,
do, the child stays here.
Ah, man. Sid's concerned, man. She really likes Omega.
I got the kid into this mess, and I'll get her out.
Yup, she really likes Omega. This is probably a good final button on that, because I never felt like it was too explicit that she wasn't totally heartless when it came to at least Omega and probably the rest of the Bad Batch. So this is definitely a good idea for the overall show. I'm here for it. I'm here for it. I don't know why that makes me chuckle, but it does.
Quit squirming.
That's a Disney ride I want to go on. Oh, crap, guys. Hurry up. Pull them up quick. All right. You guys can do this. You might be okay. No, you're not okay. No.
What's going on?
Lots of them. Watch out for the spice.
He's just
This should distract
screaming.
Incoming!
Nice. Way to go, Tech. Nice.
Since the spice has been returned, the matter between us is resolved. But not with you.
Oh, man.
He made a mistake.
They're gonna behead him?
That's all.
Ooh, it took his horn. Live to see another day there, boy.
Why did you stick up for him after what he did?
I don't know. Ruby likes him. Maybe he's not all bad.
Okay. That was it. Not a terribly placed episode. Definitely wasn't my favorite of the season. Alright, so pretty solid episode. I mean, it was definitely a fun journey. There was a lot of laughs. It was a good sort of filler episode. It definitely felt that way. The only thing that I really pulled from this episode that I thought was worth exploring was Sid's relationship to Omega and to the rest of the batch. You know, Sid started out very hardened, right? And we didn't know if we could trust her. And then as time went on, we felt we could. I think the majority of us did. Wouldn't have been shocked, though, if some weird twist or turn happened in there. But seeing the way that they're playing Sid, that it's definitely a long game. They want this to be a through line probably throughout multiple seasons of the show. It makes sense that they wouldn't do that. And I think that they wanted to bond the characters more. And this was a good step in that direction. We saw the first kinds of steps of that a little bit in that episode where Sid and Omega spent a lot of time together. So you can definitely see some threads from that episode here. Sid was very concerned about Omega and Omega's safety, you know, getting her into this mess, so I'm going to get her out of it. It shows that she really does care for Omega, and I think for the rest of the batch too, for them doing what they're doing without the sort of looming debt and everything that kind of hung over their head originally when they were doing jobs for Sid. My only complaint, though, as far as that goes, is that they really just didn't dive into it enough. You know, just a one line or two, or just a quick look or something to say, like, to signify that there is sort of a shift in dynamics between the way that the batch and Sid have worked previously. It would have been nice to see that, okay, if they do go off and do their own thing, she's a friend now. So she's not their boss. You know, they don't need to feel like they have to do things to, you know, get something in return. They don't feel like they have to do something for her to get something in return, to get a piece of information or something else like that. I think that we're going to see that play out at some point in the season within these next couple episodes, where they're going to be expecting to have to do something, and Sid's just going to kind of be like, no, of course, here you go. Like, I care about Omega and her safety, so here's all the info I have on the Kaminoans or some bounty hunters, Cad Bane, something like that. But that was really the only thing from this episode that I thought was necessarily worthwhile as far as the overall story of this season goes and the series as a whole goes. I really feel like they've done a really good job this season, season 1, of not putting in a lot of filler, not putting in a lot of episodes that don't feel like they have a place. There is at least something that is pretty obvious as to why it's placed where it's placed. Now, I know that I had some slight complaints about a chunk of the episodes a little earlier on in the season, but definitely wasn't the same way, where they were still giving you a little nugget here or there, a little something, a little tag at the end or something at the beginning that sort of explains something in the overall big picture sort of plot category, right? I don't feel like they did that at all this week. You know, I'm trying to think and go through the episode in my head, and I'm sure I'll pick up something more in the long run, but there really weren't many references even to some of the last episodes. It really doesn't feel like, you know, the mission happened and was resolved. You know, the whole situation with Sid's bar was, you know, it happened at the beginning of the episode and it was resolved at the end of it. So it's not like that's a through line that's going to be going through here, but we're setting up the criminal underground a little more. We're setting up the Pikes. So I don't know if maybe they have something to do with some bigger plot line that we're not aware of yet, and that all of those will be necessary introductions for later on. I'm really hoping that that's the thing. But this week really felt like, quote, filler. This was probably the first episode that actually felt like, quote filler. I don't want to call it filler because, like I said, I feel like there's going to be something out of this episode that's necessary to move forward. So whether it is just the introduction of some of these characters and some of these ideas, the criminal underground, maybe that is important. Maybe that is important for something later on. But for right now, the way that it feels like filler. And unless the next episode is going to tie directly into this, I feel like we are going to feel like it's filler for a while. Unless something big happens in the finale, or maybe episode 15, I don't necessarily think it would happen next episode if it's not a direct continuation of this. But if something a little later on in the season were to reference something here, then maybe we'll stop feeling like it was filler. But for right now, it feels like filler. So how do we make it not filler? Next week either has to directly tie into what we did this week, or there has to be some sort of reintroduction of the Pikes, or, you know, having the Pikes be brought in, having more of the criminal underground be brought in. Some element from this episode needs to be referenced again in episode 15 or 16 or something like that in the finale towards the end of this season. I'd be fine with it if it is in a future season, but for the short term, this is going to feel like filler, I think. Whether it will stay filler or not, I don't know. And I think that that's definitely how to view filler. Is not, you know, this was a filler episode, whoop-de-doo. And, you know, and it's something that I do think that Rebels did a fair bit. Something that I think Resistance did a fair bit. And it really is more of those traditional kids programming, the way that they went about those shows, you know, traditional kids TV programming that kind of calls for some more filler standalone episodes. But I think even within Rebels, you saw that not every filler episode was filler just for filler's sake. You know, the whole Purgle thing obviously comes back big at the end of that show. So it's able to, you know, take the pieces of things that maybe didn't have connective tissue earlier on and connect them later. And so that's kind of the mindset and the idea that I feel like you have to have when you're watching an episode like this that's not directly tying into some of the bigger picture stuff that we're getting right now. It's how could it tie in later on down the road. Definitely some of the biggest takeaways and the biggest introductions from this episode are obviously the Pikes into this series, as well as the new character. I believe he's new. I believe we haven't seen him before. The more that when you actually get to meet the guy, because he's just a Deveronian, so we've seen Deveronians 100 times, and particularly even green Deveronians have popped up here or there. So yeah, totally off base there. I think he's a completely new character, and I'm not sure if we have met his mom, Issa Duran, or Issa, whatever they said. I'm not sure if we met his mom before, but it almost felt like that, or it felt like she's somewhere in canon, but to my knowledge, I can't recall. I don't believe that she has been in canon. So if she's not already in canon, then that makes me think that there's a reason that they're putting her out there, right? More so than just to give some character development to Roland, that he's kind of a spoiled kid, more or less, right? He probably didn't work for his position in the criminal underworld, right? He got kind of handed and gifted that by mom. So it seems like she's probably going to come into play at some point in this, you know, between her and the Pikes, and probably him as sort of some sort of third liaison-ish character. I don't really know where they're going with that, because it doesn't feel like that directly ties into anything that we've already started as far as plot lines go. Obviously, probably no ties to the Empire, to Crosshair, to anything like that. I would assume that they're not directly involved with the Kaminoans and the bounty hunters. That's probably a separate area of the criminal underground. The only thing I could see is that maybe Boba is working for that family, the Duran family, and maybe this is before he starts working for Jabba. I don't actually know if that has anything to do with it at all. It could be something completely different and give these guys kind of a, you know, maybe we're setting up a bad guy, a villain for next season, like maybe a mini bad. Maybe Crosshair will continue to be the big overarching bad guy, and then maybe we'll have taken down some of the criminal underworld, the Durans, next season, unless we're going to do that in this season, which I don't think so. Like I said, unless this ties directly into this past, unless the next episode ties directly into this past episode, I don't think we're going to see that. So not a whole lot, not even a whole lot of references to what we've gotten, last week, anything like that. Not a whole lot of canon-y references. Some places where I thought we might get some canon references that we ended up not getting those references, and that's fine. In this episode, totally, it didn't put a bad taste in my mouth at all, because I'm just expecting something out of this episode to be brought back in the overall story of the Bad Batch a little later on. So, we'll take it as it is. Obviously, I want all of the fun canon Easter eggs and stuff in there, but if this is the episode we got, that's the episode we got, and we'll move on from here. But I am interested in seeing what we're doing right now, because ever since that kind of mid-season point, it has felt like we're going 100 miles an hour, kind of towards the finale, and that's a great way to feel. And it has felt like that throughout the past few episodes, right? We have that big midpoint. We have all the stuff with Fennec and Cad Bane in episode 9. Then we have a little pullback in episode 10 with kind of the Batch going on another mission, but it was a thread that maybe needed to be resolved, right? They're on the run right now. They kind of have to break ties with Sid, so let's move on and move forward, or at least that's the way I thought they were going with it. They cleared the debts at that point, so that kind of puts a bow on a lot of that part of the plot line. And then we move into the whole stuff on Ryloth and everything there, and once we hit there, I was like, okay, cool. Like, we have completed the payment of the debt. We're gonna move forward. We're gonna kind of go on the run, or we're gonna figure out something to do. We get all this stuff on Ryloth, and we find out that they're still working for Sid. And then in this episode too, we steal that they're really still working for Sid. Like, they're helping the business maintain itself. They're not just cutting and running, which at this point they probably should. So I'm very interested to see what 13 and 14 are going to be like in this season, because it could just be 2 more Sid missions. And I think that they broke up the pattern enough to where that's not going to be horrible, but I just want to feel that pressure. I really was expecting Crosshair to pop up at some point in this episode, just even a check-in or some weird sort of like fly-by, they miss each other kind of a thing, like, some 2 ships in a night sort of a deal, just to keep that threat looming. It is there way in the background, but it would be nice to have it brought out a little bit more now that we are like really in the final stretches of this season. let's really feel it. Last week's episode, we got that confirmation that like he is let loose, Crosshair can go hunt him down. So we should, every episode, we should have a little, Crosshair staring off in the distance sort of a shot. Just that. And I feel like that would make a whole world of difference into the tone and the pacing and how we feel about these next few episodes, where the batch is out there lottie-dottying around and Crosshair is like seriously hunting them down. So it would be nice to feel more of that pressure, but maybe that's a way that they designed it, that the batch is lottie-dottying around, they're taking their sweet time and Crosshair is focusing. So by the time that we realize, we do a couple of these Sid episodes and then we come back for the finale and it's like he's found him, like in their toast, because he has been serious about it and the batch more or less have not. So slightly confused, but okay with where they're going. We're just getting down to the wire, so you expect some more big things to happen, or some more just kind of movement towards the finale, idea of what we're going to be getting in the finale, what we're sort of working towards. And this episode really didn't, I feel like, work towards anything in the finale, or to wrap up this season. And I think that's kind of what a good show does, is there's a lot of work for the overall, it's kind of 3 points. The overall portion, the overall series itself, there needs to be work put in towards getting to whatever end goal for the whole series itself. There needs to be work put in for the whole season itself. But then it's also broken down into, the first half and the second half of the season, I feel like, with like a nice middle point in there. The first half works up to the middle point. The middle point kind of does something, resolves some things, changes the games on others, and creates new stories moving forward. Then you're able to take that to the end of the season, where it kind of does the same thing of resolve some things, twist some things, and then just create completely brand new things for the next season to deal with. And all the while, they're working towards answering questions and moving along plot lines for the whole season to tie both of those halves in, and then tying in that season to the overall series itself. And where does this season fit in? Overall, where do these episodes, where does the season fit in with this whole series as we work towards the finale of the series? And this episode just didn't feel like it really had a place in any of that. It didn't feel like it was really working towards much. I think that the criminal underground and Sid's relationship were the two things that it did kind of introduce us to. But really, as far as Sid goes, there really wasn't enough of a mention to where I feel like that's going to be picked up on by general audiences. That's something I feel like, me thinking about this show a lot, have kind of potentially honed in on. And because I've theorized things along the lines of having Sid bond more with the batch and with Omega, giving up information for free, it seems like that's where they're going with this, but they're playing it a lot longer than I thought they would. And I think that if they just put in one scene today that kind of really made mention of that, it would have made this episode a little more worth it, because we just really didn't get much. We got the criminal underworld, and we got vague Sid cares and is a human, as well the batch cares about Sid. And every week, the only thing that I think it's one of the only things that I think it's consistently doing every week is just setting up the sort of rightful nature of Omega. Every week we know that she is very gung-ho about doing the right thing at all times, very Jedi. So that does lend itself to a lot of these Force-sensitive rumors, all that kind of stuff. Her potentially becoming a Jedi would be sweet, but we'll see how any of that stuff plays out in this timeline, because that is like a super unknown. How do we, what do we... You got away with it once with Rebels. Can you get away with it again? I don't know. So I'm not necessarily disappointed with this episode, but I'm not necessarily thrilled with this episode. It would have been nice to see a little more concrete things for this season, for this half of the season, but I do feel like we're setting up some things for the future, so that's why it's not a huge deal to me right now. It would have been nice to sneak in one other thing or something in there that would have either tied it to last week's a little better or to what we're going to get in the future. So we'll see if they make any more mentions of anything, if anything else kind of firms up this episode, but I think it's going to be a while before we get there. It'll be interesting to see what they do next week. I'm kind of hoping that it is directly tied into what we saw this week, just like the past 2 weeks, but I'm not holding my breath on that either. If they do another standalone episode, it may be a little weird, but I'm here for it, and I'll let you do your thing because we only have a couple more, and I feel that once we get to episode 15, things will really, really be taking off. So I'm not totally mad if they do that, but I do think that there is a possibility for 14, 15, and 16 to be 3 really heavy episodes. They probably were mandated some form of 16 episodes. You know, that's how many we need from you, and they had to kind of throw one of these in here. You know, a sort of somewhat fillery episode to potentially set things up for later. Maybe they wouldn't have necessarily included it in this season, but because they needed an extra episode, that would work. I'm not sure. So 14, 15, 16 could just be a 3-part sort of finale in really heavy episodes, or we could get 2 more standalone episodes with a really nice finale, or 1 more standalone with 2 episodes sort of acting as a part 1 and a part 2 of the finale of this season. We'll see. We're still in limbo land here with sort of our guesses on what's to come and what might happen with the rest of this show. This episode really didn't help us out moving the needle and moving forward with any of our guesses. So we're just going to have to wait again until next week. So not frustrated yet. Very happy with what we got this week. It was very fun. I think a lot of the action and things were well done, but just not necessarily my favorite of this season. But really, it's definitely probably on the bottom of the bottom of the barrel as far as the things that happened in this season. But we'll wait and see, because sometimes those are the episodes that mean the most to you later on down the road. Anyway, guys, thank you once again for taking time out of your busy day to watch this Bad Batch reaction here on the Canon Collector channel. Make sure down below to leave us a comment and let us know what you thought of this episode. I want to know if you thought that this was filler. What are your ideas? What are your theories for how this particular episode is going to maybe make a little more sense in the future of this season, or potentially a season 2 or season 3 of the Bad Batch? As well, make sure to click that like button down below if you've enjoyed today's reaction. And if you want to see more of our reactions, reviews, our plot summaries, and some of our video game content, along with all of the other Star Wars things that we do on the channel, make sure to subscribe to the Canon Collector YouTube channel and turn on your notifications so you'll get updated every time we post a new video. You can also find us on a bunch of different social media like TikTok and Instagram at The Canon Collector and at Canon Collector. As always, guys, thank you once again for checking out another one of our reactions. We really, really appreciate all of your love and support. We hope that you subscribe, and we hope that you follow us on our TikTok and our Instagram accounts. May the spires keep you, and may the Force be with you. See you guys next week.